I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
If people can't control their own emotions, then they have to start trying to control other people's behavior. And when you're around super sensitive people, you cannot relax and be spontaneous because you've no idea what's going to upset them next. Political correctness has been taken from being a good idea, which is let's not be mean, particularly to people who are not able to look after themselves very well. That's a good idea, to the point where any kind of criticism of any individual or group can be labeled cruel. And the whole point about humor, the whole point about comedy, and believe you me, I've thought about it, is that all comedy is critical. All humor is critical. And if you start saying, oh, we mustn't criticize or offend them, then humor's gone. With humor goes a sense of proportion. And then as far as I'm concerned, you're living in 1984.
Welcome to Sensible Mischief. My name is Lance Nelson, and today with me I have the beautiful, the sensual, the Latino Jimmy Fallon, the lovely Sebastian Duran.
What's that?
Duran over here.
That's right, man. I prefer being compared to Roberto Duran, the boxer.
Okay, obviously. Goes without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it works.
I love it.
It works.
Dude, how you been, man?
Dude, good, man.
That's good.
It's nice to have you back.
Oh.
We go way back.
Sebastian and me, we met a few years ago in Daybreak, Utah.
Yeah.
And we started talking about video games, and that's how our friendship began.
Yep. When we go to church, so we're part of the Mormon church, technically. That's where we met.
Yeah.
We were passing the sacrament.
Yeah.
But we started talking video games the entire time during a time where we probably should have been more thinking like holy things. But nah, bro, we were talking about, I think, Uncharted at the time.
That was it.
And we just hit it off ever since.
Yeah. Good times, man.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's crazy to think how much
That's crazy.
time has gone.
That was literally 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like it just hit me. I was just
Didn't know my wife yet.
I was like, oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't know my wife yet. Didn't have my kid yet.
Yeah.
Freak.
By the way, I'm gonna put a picture in right here. Sebastian's daughter is one of the most precious, adorable girls I've ever seen in my life.
She doesn't mess around, bro. Like it's surreal. She gets away with a lot because she's a cute kid.
Well, I mean, yeah. You gotta let her get away with it.
Yeah.
That's the one, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, basically the idea of the podcast is just like talking about like just funny stories that have impacted your life.
Okay.
But like just basically like just talking about like impacting your life, decisions that you've made that have kind of like reach outside yourself.
Interesting.
I remember there was one time you were telling me about you were in New York City.
Yeah.
And you ran into a homeless guy on a train.
Yeah. Okay. So reason I was in New York City, I was a Christian missionary.
Yeah.
I was a missionary.
Yeah.
I was a kid. I was 19, 20 at this time. And we were going through the 6 train. Forget which train we were on, but I was living in Harlem at the time.
Okay.
We get on. And yeah, there's a lot of there'll be once in a while pretty crazy. It's sad to say homeless people that are on the train with you.
Yeah.
And we had a guy on there who was clearly just not all there. Okay. And he kept everybody who was getting on the train, he kept warning them about there was this massive loogie right on the subway train, right?
Yeah.
So every time someone got on the train, he'd be like, "Yo, watch out! Don't sit on there. Don't.
Yeah.
There's a huge loogie."
Yeah.
Lo and behold, over like I forget at which stop, we're probably I don't know, like on like 116th Street or something.
Yeah.
Another troubled homeless guy gets on.
Yeah.
And he walks straight to the thing. Homeboy tries to warn him, but he sits on it. And the first thing he says, he's like, "Oh, you nasty boo-boo. You nasty." So ever since I've heard that, I've used the words in that context like, "Oh, you nasty boo-boo. You nasty boo-boo." And so he sits on it, the guy just sits there.
Yeah.
And he gets off on the next stop.
Yeah.
Gets off, and the substance is still there.
Yeah.
And the first homeless guy is like, "Oh, nasty boo-boo, you smeared it. You smeared it." And I just couldn't stop laughing, and we got off, and I was like, man. So interesting way to answer your original question, but talk about this story.
Yeah.
I was so glad I made the decision to be a missionary because, like, dude, like that's something that was gonna stick with me forever. But
seriously.
a lot of crazy stuff will happen on the train.
No, I mean, it's New York City, so I don't imagine. Like, I also did a mission, and I was in New Zealand back in the day. And so there's this one time we're walking down the street, and there's this drunk Maori guy walking down, and like, he's just like, "Oi, up to, it's the brothers," and stuff, because no one calls you elders; they call you the brothers.
That's cool.
They're like, "Oi, we got the brothers here." And so we start kind of just talking, walking down the street. And then there's this one point where we walk up to, I can't even remember what we were talking about, but just kind of just chit-chatting. And then there's this one part where there's an Asian fish and chip shop right there.
Delicious.
And there's a dead cat right in front of it. And the guy, I just remember he cuts himself off. He's just like, and you know, there's another thing. And then like he looks down, sees the cat, looks up, sees the Asian fish and chip shop, and you see the gears churn in his head, and he's just like, "Excuse me, brothers, I gotta take care of something real quick. I'll be right back." And he picks up the dead cat and he walks inside the Asian fish and chip shop. And then like my companion's like, "Let's get the hell out of here." I'm like, "No, we're gonna watch this." So I run inside. There are 3 people eating in there, and then there's the couple that own the place.
Sure.
And so what he does is he takes this dead cat and he slams it on the counter. He's like, "You tell Wong Shi Shu back there, this is the last cat I'm going to give him until he gives me the money he owes me." And then, like, the people start throwing up. The cops get called and stuff. I pull the guy aside, and I'm just like, "Do you really do that, man?" He's like, "Mate, I've never been in here before in my life."
That's so
And I'm just like,
funny,
"Oh,
dude.
my." Like, everyone's a stand-up comedian over in New Zealand.
Don't do drugs. Yeah, man. I've been very lucky that I have not had that problem. My gosh, dude.
I'm very happy
But
for you.
but then they got those. I mean, I guess they're in their defense. Like now they have those great stories. You hope they remember them.
Yeah, seriously, man. Yeah,
that's funny.
it's crazy.
So yeah, that's New York in a nutshell. Was probably that. Here's another funny thing about it. So while we were there, for some reason, Mormon missionaries were very desired sexually.
Well, I mean, look at you, man.
Thanks, bro.
You tall.
I was a lot
water.
chubbier then, but
Just
this still
love.
happened to us.
In the words of the immortal Andre Benjamin 3000, if models are made for modeling, thick girls are made for cuddling.
That's funny, dude.
So you're just like,
I didn't know Benjamin was Andre 3000's middle name.
Yeah.
We got on the train this other time, and if my wife's listening, like, this chick's a skank, but a very attractive chick gets on the train.
Yeah.
And sees us.
Yeah.
And it's us 3 on the train. Immediately a bad situation to be in.
Yeah,
right. And especially like at that age, and if again, think about it, like you're like a missionary, you're trying to be, I guess, very careful about being 19 or 20, right? Yeah. So this chick gets on, she's wearing a very short skirt, and she pulls one of these. She just sits back.
Oh, she did the basic instinct.
She basic instinct us.
She's Sharon Stone.
She totally did the basic instinct.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like moments like that where you're just like, we got through it, and we didn't act on anything, and we just getting to work, and I'm just like, man, like not many kids get the opportunity to develop sexual discipline that way, right? So
especially nowadays.
Yeah. So, yeah, New York was a crazy time, bro.
I'd imagine,
but very meaningful experiences there too, for sure.
Yeah.
But
dude,
yeah,
that's awesome.
I would never. But I will definitely. Everyone talks about how much they love New York. I do love New York City a lot.
Yeah.
Freak, I would never live there.
Yeah.
Especially
really.
now.
Yeah. Of course. Like, I mean, everything's closed down basically.
Yeah. Horrible.
You also spoke Mandarin on your mission.
I did.
Right?
I had to learn Chinese.
How was that?
So okay.
This stupid question. Can you write and read in Chinese?
Yeah,
because
I studied it after. All right,
it?
so there's actually a long story with that. Okay. So when I was a teenager, my family, we got moved to the Philippines.
Okay.
So I lived in the Philippines from 6th grade to 10th grade, middle of 10th grade. That's when I moved to America after that.
Yeah.
And in that, it was an international school, and we were all, it was a requirement to be studying a second language, and it was pretty intense. Like that school it was an international school, American school.
The second language, was that Mandarin or was it Tagalog
so I
or
started
something?
taking Chinese then.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Now, from 6th grade to 10th grade, I learned how to say that I had 4 older brothers and I liked to play basketball and I knew how to count to 100. Like, that's pretty much
I know
the
how to count
extent.
to 100. 1 teen, 2 teen, 3 teen, 4 teen, 5 teen.
That's funny, dude. Yeah, that's funny. Russell Peters, you know who that is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh,
That's that he has about like when people make fun of Chinese and they say, "I know we don't want." That's Cantonese. The nicer Chinese is Mandarin.
Yeah, I get you.
But anyway, so I was learning Mandarin.
Yeah.
So I did know that.
Yeah.
The reason I'm sure I was called to speak Chinese as a Mormon missionary was because of like I had that in my background.
Yeah.
Right. Even though Spanish was technically my first like language, I like in terms of like idioms and talking to like your friends, my Spanish is probably better, but like my whole schooling was in English, so I write better in English.
This is a random question. Like, did your parents speak Spanish to you growing up as a kid, or was it like English or Spanglish?
It was kind of both. So I would speak Spanish to my mom, English to my dad, and my brothers. Reason why when we moved to America, or when my family moved to America, that's when they decided to do that so that my dad could learn English. Because we wanted to, I guess, assimilate to the best we could. And it really paid off. Like, we all speak perfect English and perfect Spanish. Perfect Spanish. I mean, whatever.
Close enough.
So when I became a Mormon missionary, I'm sure that they saw that I had taken Chinese and I had to speak Chinese. Yeah. Now, when I was learning Chinese to be a missionary, I was ahead of everybody in the class because I had somewhat of a background. So I was probably pretty conversational in Chinese as a missionary, maybe 4 or 5 months in. And I could really talk about virtually anything. Yeah. And then at least if there were some things that people would say, Chinese people are great at teaching you their language, right? And what I would explain when I was learning Chinese, they would pause and explain like the word that you just said and where the like when you explain a word in Chinese, you explain the characters that make up the word because that's how you understand the meaning of it. So I got it pretty quick. And then I was just on my own while studying it to be a better missionary. I was learning to read and write. Yeah. When I came back, when I finished, because we just do it for 2 years. Yeah. When I came back and I went to college, I kept taking Chinese.
Well, that's good.
So not put it to waste. And that's where I like learned how to read and write more. But then I was minoring in it. And then until I realized like, dude, I'm sick of college. So then I stopped.
I get you.
And then I just tried to blaze my way through college. But so my Chinese is pretty rusty.
It's all good. All I know how to
I don't need to use it anymore. So
all I just remember is we too low, holy fook. Don't worry, I'm cutting this part. But do you remember there was a plane crash that happened and there was a news story where they were like, and the 4 names of the pilots were we too low, holy fook. And like it was 2 other ones like I banged my knee and stuff, and you're just like how did nobody catch that? Yeah. It got up to prompter. Dude. Like they read it on the news.
Okay, so this is all right. So this actually comes to something that's been on my mind a lot. Yeah. Like, okay, that right there technically is culturally, politically incorrect. Yeah. But that's just so funny.
It is. Yeah.
Like I really hope this doesn't get lost, man. Like especially against society and stuff. Like we can't. That's too funny. Yeah. We can't afford to lose that because that's so funny, dude. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That news.
Yeah, man.
The same like with These Nuts. Remember when?
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, good time.
Classic.
Oh, and then there's always my favorite. Would you like cream of some young guy? You're just like, oh, how did that slip by? Back in the day, you're like, oh wow.
And there's this for some reason like a play on words, like puns are. Oh, I think those are like some of my favorite things of comedy. Like my wife is always looking for something to share with me.
So what was it like to live in the Philippines growing up as a teenager?
Really cool. Okay, so absolutely loved the Philippines. Yeah. Some like still like the friends that I made there are. I mean, some of the friends that I hope I hold with like the biggest like. Yeah. They hold a really special part of my heart. Yeah, we'll maybe make contact every couple of years, like really not often. Yeah. You know, sometimes if like a Facebook memory shows up of like something like a group of 12 of us in our basketball gear in like 7th grade.
Yeah, man.
We'll all just say something really quick. Got together with a few of them in like Las Vegas 5-6 years ago because the Philippines, right? So when Manny Pacquiao would go to Vegas to fight, they would go, and I'm here in Utah, so I drove out to meet them. So this is the thing about the Philippines.
Sorry, this is really random, but one thing that I love about do you ever watch featherweight fights? Like it's so funny because a lot of the time it's Filipino people, and then it's just
or like just really small, like
I mean, just like they're so little.
That's just,
and then they're like,
perfect for it.
And then like afterwards,
shout out to the Philippines, by the way.
After the fight, like they have those people be like, and then they have the translator that's just like,
it's like what?
My hands are weapons of God.
Hey man,
his family is lucky I let him live.
You have to.
All praise be to Jesus Christ. And you're like, there's no way that came out of that little man.
You have to instill fear. Hey man, like on average, right? We're not saying anything wrong here.
Yeah.
On average, Filipinos are quite small.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right? So that was nice for me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm only 5'9".
Yeah.
But there I was like pretty decent size.
Yeah.
Like, and granted, like I am built.
Yeah.
Stockier.
Yeah.
So granted, one of the hard parts of living in the Philippines, how much I got called fat as a kid. Like I still actually technically have a complex. Like that's why I work out and stuff, because I just hear all these Filipino ladies calling me fat.
Oh, sad.
Nah, it's fine. But again, the friends I made there are amazing.
Yeah.
What was interesting about it, the dynamic there was, all right, we were there because of my dad's job, and he technically didn't get paid much. But the way he did get paid a lot is that my school was paid for, and our house was paid for. So like our living expenses were paid for, and with his salary, then we could kind of enjoy life, right?
Yeah.
So I got sent to the top schools. That was sweet.
Yeah.
My friends were all filthy rich compared to us.
Yeah.
So the reason it was awesome is because like all the things like I would get to do when friends who were so wealthy was amazing. And like the places they lived at and stuff were sweet. Heck, the place we lived at was the nicest house we've ever lived in, right, while we were there. So like that was really cool. It was and I had a lot of fun there. And the thing that stuck out to you there though, or that stuck out to us as a family though, is like because we're a church going family, we would still go to our area, and it was crazy. Like again, we were being taken care of. But yeah, the poverty of the people that we were going to church with was like that gap, right? It was pretty astronomical. The happiest people I met in the Philippines were those folks, and not my friends who were filthy rich, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that stuck with me forever. And it made me less afraid of what if I don't become rich? Like, I realized like, hey, the happiest people I've seen like were not. So like that would always stick with me.
That being said, it's kind of hard to like. Have you ever seen someone sad on a jet ski?
That's true.
Like they'd even try and be like.
That's true. Okay, I think when you're rich, right?
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
You know when you're rich, like I don't know what you call it. The amplitude of your happiness and sadness increases, right?
Yeah.
So you're maybe how happy you can feel might go up to extent, especially with like experiences like that.
Yeah.
So the amplitude, right? Like you can be like have happier experiences, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, for me, I once did spend like $100 on tuna belly sushi, and for those 10 seconds, I was very happy. Yeah. But it was gone quick.
I am the stingiest person with money you will ever meet. There was this one time I was living in London for about 2 or 3 months, and I went to 21B Baker Street, Sherlock Holmes' house and stuff. But like they have the actual 21B Baker Street there, and they're like, and Sherlock Holmes went here, and here's where he solved the thing. And I paid $20 to get in there, and the whole time I was like, no, he didn't. This is all fake. I paid $20. I couldn't enjoy the place because I was like, I paid $20 for this.
Oh, dude,
why did I
funny,
like?
bro.
I could have gone to an actual museum for free,
That's funny.
and instead I'm like paying $20 for something that and here he solved.
That's
and
funny.
Anyway,
That's really
I'm
funny.
very stingy with money.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a real good thing.
My boss would always be like, because he'd always get Grubhub whenever we were at hotels and
Yeah.
stuff. And I'd be like, no, I'll just go pick it up and stuff. He's like, you are the stingiest guy with money I've ever met.
Grubhub, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good thing, man.
Yeah.
Don't lose that.
Oh.
So yeah, that's what will stick with me, the Philippines forever.
Yeah,
and
man.
then there was the other side of and a really important for me, like, side.
Yeah.
With my friends being so rich, and with a lot of my friends with, honestly, maybe their parents being a little bit more hands-off than I would want to be as a parent. We, like, me and my friends, we started partying when we were young.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the first time I got blackout drunk,
Yeah.
I was like 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like, because I went to a sleepover with my friends. And we just partied like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of that in 14 or 15. And we were completely, like, we would go, like, so we would go to the mall. Like, the malls there are like the shiz.
Yeah.
So that's something you need to know.
Yeah.
So we would get dinner, we would watch a movie, we'd go play pool, and then we would go to these crazy clubs, and they wouldn't ID us or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe because they knew we had money, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
You can buy anything. In
we
this
would
world with
party
money.
like nobody's business at these places.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends also had their diplomatic immunity cards, right? So the first time I smoked
I keep thinking
weed,
it's Lethal Weapon too,
diplomatic immunity.
It's been rough, folks.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
We literally, in my family, we say that all the time because we've heard the words diplomatic immunity in our life so much.
Yeah.
So, like, the first time I ever, like, took a puff of weed,
Yeah.
I was 15 and we were at the mall outside the club. The cops come.
Yeah.
One of my friends goes to talk to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it, like, he shows them his diplomatic or immunity card or what he did.
Yeah.
But they left. And we just kept
That's
smoking.
literally the get out of jail free card from Monopoly.
Again,
I mean,
don't.
The game's based on true events,
Right.
So,
As I have told this story, I said, "Oh, he had his card." I actually don't know what he said or how that happened. But they went away, and we kept smoking weed.
That's crazy, man.
So it was great for me also as a kid, because, like, that's when I was 16, I had my, like, own personal come to Jesus moment, where at least I was like, you know what, like, the discipline that a lot of these, like, religions or movements ask for, you know what, I'm down for it.
Yeah,
like, I was like, yeah, this isn't fun. It doesn't feel good.
I get you.
And yeah, man, I feel pretty lucky about that. So Philippines was like a life-changing, very important thing for me for, like, a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So
you came back from the Philippines. Did you move here to Utah?
then we moved to Utah. So from the Philippines, before the Philippines, Chile, which is where I'm from, right? So yeah, 16 years old, moved to Utah. And I mean, everybody has a different experience, right?
Yeah.
Man, it was fantastic being a minority in Utah. I did feel a special
I'm shockingly
treatment.
Caucasian, so I fit in.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I mean, there are, I think, 12 black people in the state of Utah, and
probably
7
now
of them play on the Utah Jazz.
Probably,
so.
right. Like, you know what? Look, Utah's doing a little better, man.
I know.
It's
I'm
fantastic.
just joking, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, granted, I was lucky that the high school I came to in Utah, we were pretty dang diverse. Like, we were a school. So it's in Midvale. It's called Hillcrest High School.
Okay.
When I was there, my grade, we were 40% non-white.
Yeah.
I don't know what the terminology I'm supposed to be using is right now. POCs, people of colors. I don't know.
That just sounds worse to me, if I'm being honest.
And I'm not a Latino. I'm a Latinx. Right.
I don't even know. You just
have you heard
said
that?
something new to me that I've never
Yeah.
heard
So
of.
there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
I thrived in high school, not being white.
I'm cutting this part real quick, but there's this one, like, this kid on TikTok was like, "Oh, LGBTQ plus type of thing." What, they go, gay people got premium now?
Dude, don't cut that out. That's hilarious.
The guy was just dying on the floor when he was watching.
Bro,
this
that's
kid
hilarious.
Say that. Oh,
That's so
it was
funny.
so funny.
Shout out to my gay friends out there, man. Like, I surprisingly, like, it's funny how everyone says, "Oh, I can say that joke because I have gay friends." No, but yeah, I surprisingly have a lot of friends who I didn't know for a long time that they were gay. So really happy that they told me. But yeah, man, moving to Utah at 16 as a non-white, and I had a fro at the time.
Really?
I'll send you a picture and you can throw it up for everybody.
Please do.
But yeah, dude, everyone loved me.
Yeah.
And
Well, you're a very charismatic person.
Thanks,
You're
dude.
just very likable.
and we sang a lot in high school. Like me and my, for some reason, a lot of Polynesians have just angelic voices.
Oh, are you kidding me? It's one of those
Right.
things that, especially living in New Zealand for a bit,
Right.
you're just around them and you're just like, oh.
For sure. So shout out to Leta and Ma sing, because we had a group so I was the guitarist and we would all sing and rap. Like we were an acoustic R&B group.
Okay, cool.
Right?
I like it.
Made the beats with our guitars, our mouths, and our voices. And yeah, dude, again, we just killed it. So I freaking love
awesome,
Utah. Love Utah.
Yeah.
And never intend on moving.
Oh, that's the one, man. Honestly, it is beautiful. For all the negative things that I personally don't like about Utah,
Sure,
it really is just a beautiful place.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. What don't you like about it?
Mormons.
Mormons? What, but what in particular? Like what?
Just fake.
What about
people.
them?
Like, I mean,
I hear you.
I grew up in Virginia where it was like we were the examples. It was like we were the only Mormon kids on the street. Everyone, like, literally, there were 2 families that wouldn't move from our neighborhood because of we were there. And then as soon as we were like, hey, we're moving, then they were like, oh, we're selling the house. So that just shows me that the parents really liked us and they were like, hey,
they wanted the kids to be around.
These kids are good influences for our sons.
That makes sense.
So we want them to be around. And then you move to Utah and then everyone's just doing coke and stuff. And
sure.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. It's like, who are you trying to
not
please, but like
that makes
everyone
sense.
knows what they're supposed to be doing, but no one does
Yes, because it's like it becomes... Yeah, that makes sense. It just becomes...
And like overall, it's just like another thing that I just don't like about... And maybe it's not Utah, but it's just people nowadays. Every time I ever come here, everyone's always flakes on me. Like, I'm like, hey, let's do something. And then they're like, yeah. And then some comes up and then everyone just always bails.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
It just feels like almost like everyone's constantly, and Aziz Ansari has a bit about this. He's like, everyone's constantly looking for something better to do.
Interesting.
So it's just like, oh, hey, like I'll set soft plans with you.
Sure.
But as soon as something interesting comes by, then you're out type of thing.
That makes sense.
But it's just like, for me, I'm just like, hey, I want to hang out with old people that I used to know and stuff, and then everyone always bails last
Okay,
second.
that's annoying.
But maybe that's just a me thing, where they're just like, oh, shit, it's Lance. Let's get out of here.
Okay, look, we all had to find those people that you click with and don't do that. Sure.
I get you.
Sure. And I think because living in Utah and that's happening, I totally get making the association with like Mormons on that, because that's just like what Utah is now. Thankfully, it's shrunk, right? What is it, like 55-60% now? Like, it's great. Like, it is nice not talking to non-Mormons. Like, it is fantastic. But like, I think a part of culture here that I've been starting to notice is like people want to seem so nice.
Oh,
it's not that they are nice, but they want to seem so nice.
I just love it when people are just honest about stuff, and it just seems like there is a lot of fake,
not right, because you want to be seen as either very kind. I think with a lot of stuff going on, like all throughout society, right? It's like to also come across as like more so tolerant.
Yeah, exactly.
That because of that, if someone like. Yeah, if you reach out to someone, it's like, hey, let's do something. Like, oh, yeah. It's not about... If there's someone who doesn't want to talk to you, it would be ideal to just be like, you know what, man? I don't like hanging out with you. And that would be great.
Yeah.
Like, it would be great, but...
Yeah. And I get that because there are times that I do that, too, where it's like, there's this one guy, I've met him twice, and he's like, dude, you're my best friend and stuff. And I'm just like, really?
Dude.
Like, he's like, dude, I want you to be best man at my wedding. And I was like... I literally met you at someone's birthday party one time, and then I talked to you another time after that.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, bro.
This kid was... there was this one time that I had a crush on this one girl, and like he was like, hey, I'd like to meet her. And like, so I'm just like, oh, hey, this is Harold. And then he like comes up to her, and he's just like this, and he's like,
oh, bro, get away from me. Even I hated that. Even I hated that.
Like, she literally looked at me afterwards, and I was just like, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, you can't associate with that.
And then there was this one time that Harold was just like, dude, I think we made a pact in the pre-existence to find each other in this life.
What is up with this guy, dude?
And then he's just like, he's like, do you want to go shooting with me? And I was like, you're going to Chris Kyle me, aren't you?
Oh,
you're
wow.
going to kill me.
Yeah, that's funny.
And stuff.
I mean, well, sad. Rest in peace, Chris Kyle. And Bless you to your family. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just I just have weird experiences. And,
Sure.
and people open up to me about the weirdest stuff type of thing where they're just like, hey, I feel like I can
Well, it's
talk to you.
because
And
like,
I'm just like,
you are really, again, you are really kind and you're charismatic when you listen to someone.
stop it.
So you make someone feel
get you.
important.
Yeah.
So that guy probably never had a homie treat him that way.
Yeah. He would call me up and he'd be like, dude, can we meet outside the temple? And it's like 2:00 in the morning. He's like, dude, I keep thinking about killing myself because I keep looking.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I keep looking
this
at
guy.
I keep looking at pornography and I just like I keep talking to Bishop and just like I just feel so bad and like I think I'm gonna just kill myself so I don't have to deal with it.
Bro.
I was like, if it's between looking at some titties or looking at some boobs and dying, I think God's gonna be okay with it type of thing. And it's just it's just
right.
Just life's weird, man.
Life is weird. Okay,
and especially when you put on like I mean, so many different like how do I put this? I think the goal ultimately of life is just to be the best person you can and grow. Yeah. Like I love that thing from Oakes that he used to say where he's like, it is not about what you do in life, it's who you become in life. And I feel like that's kind of just the ultimate thing is just like, hey, we're all progressing, we're all learning. This is the thing that I don't like about cancel culture right now is
that cancel culture
there
too,
is
though, by the way.
There's no
redemption.
It's like, hey, like with the very rare acceptance of a few things, I think anyone can be forgiven of the thing if they genuinely are sorry about it.
I agree.
So like, let's say I say a racist comment type of thing, and I don't say it out of love, and I say it out of bigotry,
like out of
type
like
of thing.
really,
I feel like
hate,
people
like,
can progress, and then they learn, oh, what I did genuinely was a bad thing. But the problem with cancel culture now is basically you're just trying to hide the stuff that you did, as opposed to being like, hey, look, we're going to have an open discussion about this. Like, for example, I have a friend that she was about to get a job out in California, and she's black, and her boss went to high school with her, and they used to call her her name Black. So she was about to go out to California to do the job, and then her boss gave her an NDA that was like, you cannot talk about, I used to do some kind of racist shit back when we were in high school because we just hired a bunch of black people and I don't want them to leave. Also, I'm a social influencer I got my blue chip finally on Instagram. So and she is petrified of getting taken down because of all this. Man. And it's just one of those things where it's like, if you had an open dialogue about it, be like, hey, look, I was in high school. Everyone does dumb stuff in high school type of thing. Even like, I'm 30. I still do stupid stuff that I'd like to think that I'm going to progress and grow as a person, not be like, I don't think I'm the man I will be the rest of my life. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I hate that there's no redemption for a lot of people. Granted, some people don't deserve it. It depends on the situation.
Sure. Yeah, like, dude, I think you put it right. Like, and that's just what a lot of people are having the conversation on. It's like, yeah, that cancel culture white. So what you said with redemption is like, yeah, that's the big thing there. Because I think what then is being eliminated there, and this is like the problem of like a religious dogma, like or like a dogmatic approach to principles that started off great. Yeah. But when perceptions become so important, I think what we lose is more than anything being honest. Yeah.
I mean, I showed you that John Cleese thing the other day where he was talking about, like, he's like, the problem with today's culture of being woke is that people, like, are going to be easily offended at anything. So you can't be spontaneous. You can't be truthful sometimes about some things because you don't want to offend anyone, as opposed to, which is a good thing.
It is good to not offend. You shouldn't want to offend people.
But, yeah, it's just, yeah.
But, some, like, maybe we can try really hard to find unoffensive comedy. Yeah.
And I know that it is out there.
Okay, well, okay, name one then. Right? Like, it is out there. Yeah. But
it's not funny.
It's not, no, it's not though. That's the thing. And then like with this like overcorrection with it that's happening, it's like, like, okay, I have a great job. Yeah. I can't tell you if it's because I'm good at it or if it's because I'm Latino. Okay. Right? I will never know. Yeah.
And well, I imagine you are good at it.
I really hope so. I try really hard, but I will never know. Right. Yeah. And like, so then with what your friend, like what you were mentioning, it's like, yeah, like that person, like that boss his perception of himself, and what like how like the Graham would see him, is so much more important that he can't just say like you can't just own up to who you were and who you've become from that. Going back then to your friend with the porn problem, who was weird asking you to be his friend, like the way he was asking for that stuff. Yeah. First off, I really hope that guy got help, because he clearly
he needs it.
He clearly has, and I'm sensitive to like mental health illness. I really hope homeboy, if somehow you know who you are, please like, hey man, there's no shame in it. There's no shame on it. Yeah. There's no shame about it. But like, so talking about the porn thing, right? Like, and in Mormon culture and in a lot of Christian culture, religious culture, whatever. Let's not generalize too much there. Yeah. Like, if you look at their doctrine, you can see why porn is a bad thing, right? Or why you should strive to not look at porn. Yeah. At the same time, right? If more men or anybody struggling with this can just say like, I like it. Like, and I hate that I'm tempted to look at it because it makes me feel good. Yeah. It does something, right? And like, the more honest people can just be, it's like it makes me feel good, right? And it's like, yeah. And that makes you a normal person. Yeah. So keep trying not to, right? Yeah. But I think more like what's more important with what you're saying, like about progress, I personally think even more than that, the most important thing is, can you be honest about who you are? Yeah. Regardless if you made the progress or not. Yes, we can't like lower the bar for anything, right? We should all have a high expectation from ourselves. But being honest about where you are, I think, is ultimately more important, right? Yeah, it's like the saying, I think, was it Ram Dass? I forgot who it was. Who's closer to God, right? The penitent sinner or the celibate saint, right? Yeah. The horny celibate saint, right? Yeah. Who's not honest about it. I butchered it, but the whole point is like, I'm going to try to get it right. Who would you think is closer to God, right? The horny celibate, right? Or the penitent sinner? Yeah. That's it. So don't cut the bad one. We found it. Like, I think whoever is like more favored in this life are those people who just like, yeah, dude, I struggle with that. Yeah. Sucks. Yeah. And that's it. Right. And then for some reason, if people start like, I think if we have a less dogmatic view of ourselves with that stuff, it then holds less power over us. And then it's easier to overcome anyway. Right. When can I just admit that, like, yeah, pornography, drugs, things, they're tempting because they feel good. Yeah. Like they do feel good. Yeah. For a brief moment. Yeah. Right. And, but when you recognize that, and it's like, but I want something more. Maybe I think you have a better shot. Right. And so hopefully that dude is like, yeah, I get no you. Shame. Yeah, like, no shame. That's what we got to strive for, I think.
Yeah. When you're right, you're right. Right now, you're right. Even when you're wrong, you're still right, right?
Yeah, we butchered that line there. So, but we got y'all know what I was saying. Yeah. You know what I was trying to say. Yeah. You know what I was trying to say. Yeah. You know what I was trying to say.
I get you. No, that's the one, man. Let's see. Do you got any funny stories that you can think of right off the top?
Right off the top of my head,
yes.
A funny story. Yeah. Oh man. All right, so this is where like I'm over 30 years old. Yeah. But the 14-year-old in me is still strong. Okay. Meaning like poop, fart jokes are still like the funniest things to me. So the first one that comes up, I just shared this with you right before, but I'll throw it on here for you. I don't know why this is the first thing that I think about. So like this is before I was married. I was staying. This is the worst part of it. I was staying at a friend's house, and I can't remember what we ate the night before, but for some reason my stomach, I had a sensitive stomach that morning. Yeah. In the words of Nacho Libre, I had the diarrhea since Easter's, right? I had diarrhea. I clearly had diarrhea because like you know when you have diarrhea, you can feel that like if you fart, it'll be a little, it won't work out, right? So I was trying to avoid this. I went to the bathroom to pee. Okay. So I start peeing, and I don't know why our bodies do this, but a lot of times when you pee, you fart too, right? Yeah. As you're just pushing, I don't know if there's like a pelvic releasing, I don't know what's going on. So while I'm peeing, I shart. and again, I'm at a friend's house. So I screw up my underwear, right? Like, and it's pretty bad. So the way I had to clean myself up in there to be able to just exit.
Yeah. What happened?
I mean, I was pretty smart about it. Like, so I pull my pants down, take off my underwear. Yeah. Kind of scrub it. All right. In the sink. I thought that was a nice thing for me to do. Yeah. No. And then I just go commando and exit out. And I'm just like, hey man, I gotta go. I
took it on the chin.
So I scrub it. I washed it, put it in my pocket, wash my hands, exit, throw it out the trash.
I get you.
And and what I'm thinking in my mind, I threw it in the dumpster. And what I'm thinking in my mind, and then I'll go home and take a shower. Yeah. And I'm fine. And I felt fine. I felt clean.
I'm proud of you.
But that's the first. The moral of the story is like, when something bad, like when something just an accident happens,
the more you know.
Yeah, when an accident like that happens, man, like stay calm. Yeah. And the answer will come.
That's one thing that's just crazy to me in life is just if you can keep a cool head and severe
you'll figure out what to do.
You're pretty much set.
You'll figure out what to do. Yeah. Okay, so that leads me to this other story. Okay. Have a friend, old friend. We're actually like no longer friends based on some differences on political, social issues.
Are you a pretty politically active person?
I've started to become more just because like I do worry with a lot of things in culture today. I have a bias towards this stuff because I am Chilean and I grew up hearing about communism my whole life. I mean, my mother, when she was 4 years old, was being trained to shoot an AK-47 to be ready for the people revolution, right? Yeah. And it worked. And yeah, Chile was communist for a long time. Yeah. Sadly, the response to it was then a very crazy military coup. Yeah. Right? So Pinochet, everyone knows him as a dictator. Yeah. It fixes our economy. Uh-huh. At the cost of killing millions of communists. So our response to it wasn't too good. But just hearing like the conversations that were being like had, it sounds the same. Yeah. From things that are going on right now. So that's where it's like I try to not be too political because I recognize that in me is making me more alarmist than necessary.
I get you.
So I'm not that politically loud because I understand that I have this, and maybe it's right. I don't know. So I'll share with it, and that's why at least I won't lie about my political views. I get you. So if people ask me, I will tell them. Yeah. And then just growing up, like I read the Gulag Archipelago and read these books, and I'm just like, dude, these are the conversations that people are having right now, and there's a lot of history to show that this doesn't go well. Yeah. So be careful. So that's where I'm at. So that's why during a lot of things that happened last year, right? I wasn't willing to lie about my views because right now, what I feel like what you're bringing with cancel culture, I think the reason cancel culture exists is because people are trying to make certain views the only acceptable ones. Yeah. There can't be nuance in any of these things. Yeah. Which is the sad thing. This friend of mine, like 4 or 5 years ago, we were working out, we were lifting weights. Yeah. And his heart stops. And he just collapses right there in the gym. Yeah. So that's one of those moments where I just like my attention is just like in this situation. Like, what do I do? So I go and catch him because a weight is about to fall on him too. Catch him. We move the weight. Get him on the ground. I immediately just knew, let me check his breathing. Let me check his pulse. Like all these things were just coming to me. And I was calm this entire time. Check his pulse. Not there. So I start giving him CPR. Right. And as I'm going for a few minutes and I'm working, I tell like I don't know where like what training I had to remember go call an ambulance.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like asking people to help me out while I'm doing this. What's nice is when I did ask, is there a doctor here? And I yelled, thankfully, there was a doctor who heard that.
Yeah.
By the way, this doctor who then comes over was jacked as all get out. Silver fox.
Yeah.
Angelic looking dude. like life goals.
Yeah.
So he comes, I'm a doctor. And then he continues
Yeah.
on the CPR. Ambulance gets there. I have to call homie's wife and tell him what happened. Tell her what happened.
Yeah.
And then after that, things kind of become a blur because ambulance comes, and I'm just like, what the freak? And then I do see him start moving. Like they put the
defibrillator.
On, but like the patch ones, right?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. And yeah, he starts moving and he's back.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they take him to the hospital, check him, and he comes back.
Yeah.
And he's still alive and well today.
That's the one.
Right?
Man.
But in that moment, like, yeah.
Cool heads.
So it's like sometimes we worry so much about things that could happen wrong when it's like when those things happen, you're surprised. Like you're surprised what your brain can do.
Yeah.
When just to zero in on solving the problem in the moment. Yeah. That trait. I don't know where that came from. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because you do see some people panic.
I do know people that freeze in the headlights.
And they just get so overwhelmed.
Like, oh, buddy, are you okay?
And they just get so overwhelmed. Yeah. And I don't know how you treat that. I mean, there is something to say about just like your natural temperament.
Yeah.
So, we are all different.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, apparently today. Like we're not supposed to be, but we are.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I am a big I do meditate every day.
That's awesome.
Like
what got you into meditation in the first place?
Me being depressed.
Okay.
So when I was like in 2014, 2015, started having like a couple years into college, starting to date girls, like looking for a wife. Yeah. Putting pressures on myself with like what I needed to be doing by a certain age. Yeah. Yeah. I just started getting panic attacks, a lot of anxiety. Your typical depression, like I think it's good for some people to experience it, right? There's some people who are dealing with it at such astronomical levels, like that it's like, gosh, I feel for them. And I know they are doing what they can, but I don't know why they were treated that hand in life, but they were. Yeah. But that's what got me into it. Yeah. And it is what's snapped me out of it too. Like,
that's awesome, man.
And like a part of like when I meditate, there is a practice of meditation where you contemplate your death. Yeah. Right. And I do that often. Yeah. But it makes me feel less afraid of death. Yeah. My own
were you
or others.
Afraid of death back before
it wasn't
doing this, or is it just kind of a? Did you have that like almost teenager mentality of I'm never gonna die, I'll live forever, or is it kind of like?
I think so. That's a good question, bro.
I'm always been obsessed with death type of thing. There's not a person that I know or love that I cannot imagine them being gone type of thing. Where it's just like, and it's like, but life will move on. If I die, I don't think that everyone's world will be shattered. I don't think that like the world will stop spinning and stuff. It's just like, which I have a very I was suicidal for a very long time and stuff. So it's one of those things that like I've always been like, oh, whatever. Like, hey, if I'm here or not, then doesn't really matter to me type of thing.
Right.
But
Keanu Reeves, like, did you hear him like once on a Stephen Colbert interview? Like Stephen Colbert just asked him, like, "You're a really deep guy. Like, what do you think about death? Yeah. Like, what do you think will happen?" Yeah. And his only response was like, and he like took seconds to answer, which feels like an eternity,
especially when you're on camera type of thing.
Right. It feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
So I think it does something in the audience and in you watching that moment, because like with the pause, you're just like, what's he gonna say? And all he says is like, all I know is like the people who love me will miss me.
That's a nice thing.
And I was like, whoa. Yeah. Right. So like, I do think about that and sure, like being a father, being a husband, like I really hope I don't ever have to leave them. Yeah, right. Exactly. My only goal in life one of my main goals in life is to outlive my wife. I just don't want my wife to not have me. Right.
Well, like even Stephen Colbert talks about this type of thing. Like typically when a man dies in the relationship, the woman will live like 10 extra years type of thing, 20 even. But when a woman dies, like it's an old couple, guy dies within months afterwards.
He just misses
it's just
so
like, no, he's like, I mean.
I was just trying to outlive I was just trying to, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, so it's not like that I was afraid or overwhelmed by death, but I was overwhelmed of not. I was afraid of it in the sense of like not living the life I wanted.
I get you.
So
and like, I mean, there was this movie quote that I love that I kind of base my entire life on, is that I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid I haven't lived enough.
Yeah. And that's, I think, like, again, I knew that cliche from my saying was going to come. So I'm glad you shared it from a more meaningful source. Cause like, yeah, I think that's what it was, is like, what if I died today? Like, did I do enough? Yeah. So I think the reason I contemplate my death every day, it's like, yeah, I tried. Yeah. Like I really did try. So like, that's where it comes from for me. Right.
And especially like, I mean, one thing about our generation and nowadays is like, you look at back in, I don't know, 60 years ago. Yeah. I feel like people accomplished way more by our age, but that's also because they didn't have all the entertainment where it's constantly distracted everything. Like, as opposed to like, I mean, these were people that like just pull up by bootstraps and get whatever you want done type of thing.
Like you're thinking like Alexander Hamilton or the stuff he was doing.
Stuff like that. Like
by the time he was like 9, like, all the things he did.
And then you look, like one of my favorite quotes is actually from John Adams. And he talks about like, he's like, I want to climb the highest. Like he had this little notebook that was like that big. And he wrote in the tiniest, you have to use a magnifying glass to be able to read what he wrote. And he's like, I want to climb the highest mountains. I want to read everything that's ever been written. I have the greatest aspirations. And then the very next day he was like, sat and daydreamed my day away type of thing. And it's like, oh, they're human. So like, even though these people had like accomplished so much, but granted they also lived shorter lifespans type of thing, but they didn't have all the distractions that we do. Like I woke up 2 days ago and I was on TikTok for 2 hours just scrolling through things. I could have been writing something. I could have been working on something. I could have been like trying to like work on, I don't know, carpentry, anything. Like think of something that you've been wanting to do for ages and you just take out like entertainment for a little bit and you can work on it and you can master a skill that, I don't know, you never thought about. And or like, I just wish that I had the discipline in myself. Sure. And talking about this, it's one of those things where it's like, I want to be better than I have been, and I want to do more than I have done. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to tie it in with what you're talking about. You want to live life to the fullest. And I mean, that's what even, like, I mean, this is what I always tell people about the podcast. It's all like, this is all about just living life to the fullest, never turn down a challenge and always getting into sensible mischief. Because the thing that the guy told me, like the old guy in New Zealand, he was just like, he had Parkinson's. He was like, I can't do anything anymore. So all I have left is the stories I can tell about what I've done in my life. So just live life so that you can tell stories. Yeah. And eventually you're going to die. Everyone's going to die. Like one thing I'm really impressed with my niece.
How old is she?
She's 7, maybe. Yeah, she's 7 turning 8 this year. And her grandma died. And she has just she's like, you know, I was sad, but I just know that as long as I remember her, like she'll live on through me type of thing. And I was just like, oh wow, that's deep. Because like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, you know, grandma's up in the sky now and just like going around. Like, I mean, one thing that I appreciate about Latino culture is like, and
Latinx. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding.
The thing that I love about like, I mean, and this is stupid just because I'm shockingly Caucasian. I don't really learn about other people's cultures unless I start like watching movies, and that's where I've learned everything in life is through movies, basically. But like Coco, probably same here. Like I love the fact that like in Latino culture is like, hey, we remember, we honor our dead type of thing. We always there's a day that we specifically remember our dead type of thing, and that's a beautiful thing.
That is beautiful,
and I'm just like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but and again, this is what's interesting about. Weird tangent.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like Dia de los Muertos. Like I honestly think that is. I don't know if it's only Mexico or Central America, but like in Chile we don't have that, right? Yeah. Like Chile, we are in Chile.
You see, I'm learning new things, and I'm already racist now because I'm combining all of South America.
Well, see, this is
just being like, oh yeah, that one thing from Coco, and they're like,
this is
that's
why,
just
like,
Mexico.
It's all so complicated. Then just screw it. Like this is like. Okay, going back to the other quote you were saying, like, if we're so afraid of freaking offending, like, we can't just...
There's this one...
I don't care.
I told you this the other day, like, the comedian that I like. He goes up to a black guy in a bar and like they're friends, and he's just like, "Hey, I got a question for you. Why is there a stereotype that black people can't swim?" And he's like, "Oh, well, typically like inner city, we don't have a lot of money, and so that like
so we don't have a pool.
So we don't have pools." And then it's just like, oh, okay. And then a white guy comes up to him afterwards, and he's like, "How could you say that? That's so racist and ignorant." He's like, "I was ignorant. Now I'm not ignorant anymore."
Yeah, okay, so that's a great point. Wow, that's a cool story. No, so exactly, right? Yeah. So Argentines and Uruguayans are known in Latin America to be typically lighter skinned.
Okay.
Right? And Chile, we have like an interesting mix of that. But yeah, and that's what's crazy. Like Chilean culture compared to, again, Mexico, completely different. We don't do Dia de los Muertos in Chile. Yeah, maybe we do, and I just haven't lived there. So no, we don't. But like, I hear you. Like with that movie, like those are little aspects, like big aspects of it that I found wonderful. I learned that with a lot of the Chinese people I met in New York, how they honored their ancestors and their dead, and there's something to that.
It's something I love about Polynesian culture as well, is they just put such an emphasis on family.
That's cool.
And like, tattoos in particular, like they, it's tamoko. And like, so there was this one guy.
Some random white guy.
It was my last area, and there was a tattoo artist that I made friends with, and he was like, "Hey, I like you a lot. I'll give you a sleeve for free." And I was like,
"Oh man, that would."
And it's just like, dude. I'm just once again shockingly white. That I'm just like, I hate it when white people have the Polynesian tattoos. I'm kind of like you don't get it.
That's true.
Like, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, I get it, so I can get it type of thing. But it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, like, so basically, like, they'd be a tattoo that starts at your hand and like, all right, so this is me, and then it goes down to my whakapapa, which means family history.
What's the word again?
Whakapapa.
That's a fantastic word.
It is amazing.
Is it a Maori word?
It's a Maori word. It means family history, genealogy. So we would
literally
whakapapa. I know, right? So
freaking awesome, dude.
Literally, I would walk around and just be like, because I mean, Maoris love family history, so we'd just be like, "Oh, kia ora, we'd like to teach you about we'd like to help you learn more about your whakapapa and stuff." And
that's
just like
dope, dude.
It was a good way.
That's really cool.
Meeting people, but like, I mean, honestly, like, I just love, like, if I may have cultural envy, being a white man for a second, we don't really have culture or history type of thing. It's more of just like, whatever, just but like
that's beautiful though.
But like, I mean, like, and then you're like, oh, look up my family history. It's like, I'm from everywhere that's white, and stuff, and it's just like, okay, well, like, I mean, I don't know, but that's my cultural envy of Polynesians.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Yeah, that it's just, and there's nothing wrong. With cultural envy for something that, especially that beautiful. Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Yeah, because like my culture doesn't have that too, and it makes me want to get that. Like, all our cultures are so different. Where who cares if something's culturally, like, if it's cultural appropriation? Like,
there's some things that I'm like.
I mean, it is funny. Like, I do have a friend of mine, and I will leave him unnamed, who he thought he got the term "big shot" in Chinese tattooed on his arm.
Oh no!
Actually, maybe this might be my own Chinese ignorance, but I know I can read Chinese, and it said "big dog."
Okay.
Right? Maybe okay. So in Chinese, I will say, like, there's things that you group together. They're huge on idioms, like 4-word idioms and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe big dog is how you would say and translate big shot. I don't know. So maybe he's right. But yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Sometimes cultural appropriation kind of it goes a little wrong. Sure, that's true.
We've talked about politics. We talked about this. We've talked about like cultural appropriation.
Cultural appropriation
which I did not expect this to go that way today. But
here's the last thing. I'll leave you with one of the things I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah.
Going through. There's two things I want to say when we're talking about like the whole depression thing, suicidal thing. First off, I hope you're feeling better with that stuff.
I'm doing better.
Good. I hope so.
I even started seeing a therapist.
Good.
And then
I've loved my
once again, me being cheap, I was like, why am I paying you
It is
for
a lot
this?
of money.
I was just like, I had 10 sessions and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Everyone should have therapy at some point in their life. Shout out to Scott. Scott knows who he is. He probably honestly saved my life. Yeah. Right. So I'm glad. Find a way to keep going, bro.
Yeah, man.
Find a way to keep going.
Yeah.
I do highly recommend. Meditation's a great thing.
Yeah.
Meditation's beautiful because you recognize. Well, okay. One, there's a lot of research that shows like it does do a lot for your brain chemistry.
Yeah.
So you could look at it just that way. It's like it's like arm curls for your brain and releases great stuff for you.
Yeah.
But to recognize that what meditation taught me was, no, it doesn't matter what I do or what happens. So life becomes more of like then why not do it?
Yeah.
Right. And I've been thinking that a lot when like, all right, so maybe you showed him, maybe we brought up like how beautiful my daughter is, right?
Yeah.
I do think about how beautiful my family is a lot.
Yeah, man. Second kid on the way.
Second kid on the way, dude. July. So I think about, how did I get here? How did I get this family?
Yeah.
Especially when I was like dealing with like, I've always been a charismatic guy, but deep down I just didn't believe in my, like I dealt with like not believing myself kind of thing.
Like, I mean, the funny thing is I look at pictures of me when I was a teenager.
Sure.
And like, I felt like I was fat, but that's because my brother is ridiculously skinny.
Interesting.
And stuff. So it was always a comparison type
Sure.
of thing.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So like I've always had like body images things too, where I'm like, oh, well, I'm not like,
sure.
Like I have,
dude, it's so normal, bro.
So one of the things that like for me, one of the reasons I have no confidence for a very long time was because when I was 8 years old, a Mormon missionary came over to our house and I was sitting next to him. My brother tells this joke where he like used to slap his fist on the table being like, there was this guy. And like, I was just rolling over laughing so hard that the guy leans over to me and it's just so I can hear. And he's like, are you retarded?
Oh,
And stuff, and it just devastated me. So I stopped laughing.
Dang,
I stopped
dude.
smiling. I was like, I don't want people to think I'm retarded, so I'll just be quiet from now on. And just genuinely, it took me years to get over it in the sense of like,
bro.
oh, like, hey, you're not weird that people like
sure
that you're like it's okay to talk to people.
Yeah.
And like not everyone thinks like, oh,
yeah.
And it's not even that I'm like, oh, like if people thought I was mentally off, I'd be okay with that. But it's just like I just didn't want to annoy people.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, so I was just like my mom. There's this one comedian that talks about it, and he's like, you know, most moms tell their children like, hey, watch out for strangers because they'll throw you in the back of the van. It's like, watch out for strangers because you'll bore them from talking too much.
Okay, that's pretty
Yeah.
sad, but that's freaking
But
hilarious.
it is
That
funny.
is actually a pretty good burn.
And then he became a comedian, so it worked out for
That's
him.
a pretty good burn.
But yeah.
Yeah, bro. Again, yeah, we all get those things. Like, yeah, I think what you bring up, it's like we all have those things that just stay with us. Like I have some sort of like, I get like these people who are like, we need to ban hate
when
speech.
you're like, oh, I kind of question myself. I like look at you and I'm not trying to be like, you know,
Sure.
I'm just like, dude, I can't even see how you'd feel that way, but I understand the notion of
Somehow,
it. But I like looking at you, I'm like, dude, like, I mean, you got a great family, got a successful job. Like, I don't feel like you're faking it at all,
right?
To like make it type of thing.
You know what? Like, okay, I will just say it straight up. Yeah. I write in my gratitude journal every single day, and it's never forced.
Yeah.
I genuinely, and like, this is the thing, tragedy will find all of us, right? Man. So when that comes, we'll face it.
Yeah.
And my family, we faced like pretty hard tragedies last year, and yeah, they were hard. So I'm not exempt from that stuff.
Yeah.
But still, like, yeah, looking today, like, yeah, to my view, my life is perfect for what I need, right?
Yeah.
Before I had this life, yeah, dude, just like you, like we all, sometimes we underestimate those experiences, how they can like throw us off from our potential as much as they can, right? Yeah. And it makes me somewhat understand people who are like, we need to ban hate speech, right? Like I can see where they're coming from because maybe they had a similar experience like you did.
Yeah.
And I had those similar things, like again, being called fat my whole life.
Yeah.
And I still like hear them call me, like we all have those things. So I can like get people who want to ban it. But you and I did need to be hearing that to overcome it too, right?
Honestly, it's one of those things where like, I mean, looking at kids without bullies nowadays type of thing, you're like, bullies, how do you think that like things were done back in the day? It was because people wanted to prove people wrong.
Right.
So
dude,
it's just,
and
don't get me wrong, I don't think that bullying is essential type of thing. Obviously, it shouldn't happen, but it does strengthen occasionally.
Right. And if it does, like I think
it depends on the person. Like obviously, like someone's got mental problems,
right? And exactly. And if you get then hopefully the right support system to like talk through it and overcome it, maybe it can lead to a good thing. So you hope that people can overcome it. Oh yeah, man. Shout out to the senior, when I was a freshman, the senior doing senior hazing, like bullying the crap out of me.
Yeah.
It, like, again, yeah, this was the Philippines, but yeah, I mean, homie was like 4 years older than me, right? Like,
Yeah.
like 14 to 15 is a rough age. Like,
It
you're
really
you're
is.
starting to grow. So homeboy's like,
Yeah.
so like, yeah, walking down the halls, like actually just being scared. Like, am I going to see my bully? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, I get it.
Yeah.
But, right. So like, honestly, shout out to him. I've been wanting to look, I've been like looking for this guy on like social media and whatnot. Cause I've actually wanted to write him like, dude, thanks.
Yeah.
I actually needed that. It was freaking messed up what you did. But like, it's been a big thing to overcome.
Yeah, man.
So like, again, when I found meditation, found these things, and I recognized, all right, why not try?
Yeah.
Right. Everything in my life started becoming more of like I'm just going to be as honest as I can in this certain situation.
Yeah.
So dating my wife, when I recognized I liked her, I was like, I'm not going to lie about this.
Yeah.
Right. And when we first talked, like said that and mentioned that, like, yeah, we had a nice makeout session.
Yeah.
Right. And it went well, but
I'm happy for it.
But I arrived at the point that I wanted to date my wife exclusively quicker
Yeah.
than she did.
I remember you talking about
Right.
that. Yeah.
And I had to be very honest with her, like, if you're not in the same place, like that will actually be hard for me.
Yeah.
So I want to keep seeing you. I'm not going to become this friend though, that like, if we hang out, odds are I'm going to still want to make out with you and touch your butt a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And for my own sanity, yeah, I'm going to go see other people. Just, it's the right thing. And a few months and months pass by in that same way. And lo and behold, I think my wife just felt secure with me because it was no longer about, it wasn't about the outcome. It wasn't about my wife, like the girl at the time, like about getting her. It was about being just honest about what I wanted. And here we are. We're married. We have a family. Everything in work everything at work that I've achieved is just because I have just living by the rule, tell the truth or at least don't lie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Someone asks you like, hey, can you do this? No, I can't.
Yeah.
How much does this cost? It costs this much.
Yeah.
You can't give me better? I could, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I get you.
So that's the only thing like I would say, man. It's like, I hope more people today, and I hope our society does something to enable that, like telling the truth or at least your truth at the moment. Hopefully, like we allow that some more.
And that's
right?
one thing that's kind of like, I mean, taking it back to like our church culture type of thing is like, I feel like we were raised kind of in a way to look at the world as black and white. And you're just like, oh, there's so much gray in there. And you're just like, oh, okay. So like, even when you just said a minute ago, your truth at the moment, I feel like you can learn more truth continually type of thing, where it's like at the moment, this was the truest thing to me. And then like later on, you're like, oh, I realized I was wrong, but I was convinced that was it.
Or, and then even before that, like, so in the Mormon church, they have the articles of faith, right?
Yeah.
And there's one that talks about, we believe in being honest, true, virtuous, chaste, right? Yeah. It mentions all of these virtues, these attributes that we strive for. And in the Bible, they're called the Admonition of Paul.
Yeah.
The first two are being honest and true.
Yeah.
So at least if I'm not chaste, if I'm not virtuous, I can at least be honest and true about it.
I get you, man.
And just be like, I know I shouldn't, and it sucks and it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't suck. That's the problem. Right? If we just keep giving people the space to just be whoever they freaking are in the moment, people will just evolve quicker and become what they're supposed to be, and then they're still gonna be idiots and whatever. So with that, bro, if you're ever struggling, I hope you're just honest. Reach out to somebody, and me too. Like, that's how people help each other out.
That was the thing, because like 2 years ago in particular, I was at a really low spot where I was like, I'm done. I'm checking out. I started calling family members, not to be like, oh, bye, but I'd be like, not for them to know that, but I'm basically saying goodbye. And then I found out that my sister was pregnant, and that kind of snapped me out of it, because she'd been trying to get pregnant for a while, and like she had 4 miscarriages. and stuff.
yeah.
And it's just like, oh, hey, like,
Yeah.
I guess that is. And then I got the job in Oregon like a week later type of thing. And then I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was just in a bad place for a little bit. But I mean, hey, it's one of those things.
It's so natural.
It's I don't think I'm ever going to really get over it type of thing. It's just like, oh, just one day at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all ultimately we can all do.
Sorry. Switching gears for a split second.
I love it.
I remember the way you proposed to your wife.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind sharing that story.
About
Because
sensible mischief?
There was this one time that I remember that you guys were taking a break for a minute.
Yeah.
And then you were to me, you're like, dude, let's just be gay together. And then do you remember, like, we went for a hug and then we both went out like,
because I've always done that joke.
I get you.
So my wife probably doesn't know this, so she'll find out through this.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was funny to hug my friends who I knew weren't gay.
Yeah.
And put a little,
I get you.
Insert my groin into their.
We always joke the opposite way. It's like whenever we hug a girl, you don't want to be that creepy guy.
Oh
that's
yeah.
So we'd always just do the ass out hug type of thing where it's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So then when you were just like, I was just like, sure.
Yeah. So when I hugged you, I did my pelvic hug. So sure. Yeah, man. Dating my wife, like at the time where she was like unsure, like.
Yeah.
Again, I just felt the reason I felt so calm about it is because like I was just telling the truth, and it wasn't about her becoming my wife.
Yeah,
and then she did.
Yeah,
right. So when my wife was ready to get married, she told me.
Yeah,
like when she told me she loved me, when she was like, "These are the rings I've been looking for."
Yeah,
like she was pretty like.
Yeah,
it actually all happened pretty quick, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to marry you for a long time, so yeah, sure, let's go." All right, so here's the deal. This is what happened. Probably a good story to close it out on.
I just remember when we were talking, when you were mentioning stuff about your family. I was
about
like,
sensible mischief stories.
I forgot about
all right, this is my engagement story. My wife and her family were going to Paris.
Yeah,
and at the time, I actually already had like her ring made and stuff. Like I was planning on proposing to her when she got back.
Yeah,
I was very lucky that her family really liked me.
Yeah.
So her sister says, you have to come to Paris and do it there.
Yeah.
And we should keep it a secret from Allie. So I'm like, yeah. I'm down. Let's do it. So I called.
Have you ever been to Paris before?
No.
Okay.
I had been to Italy.
Okay.
I took my dad to Italy for my graduation present. Yeah, I mean, my dad always wanted to go to Italy, and freak, I had the chance to pay for flights and stuff and go out there. It was cool. Man. So this was my first time going to Paris. So I'm like, okay, I need to talk to your dad, so I can first see if he's down for this.
Yeah.
So talk to the parents, and they're like, great.
Yeah.
You're gonna come to Paris? I'm like, I mean, it seems like that'd be a good idea. Should I?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, well, you'll have an Airbnb and a place to stay. So nice. I just had to pay for flights.
Yeah.
We look for flights. We find return flights like $500.
Oh,
what the frick is a term again? Return flight.
Round trip.
Round trip. Jeez, that's how long it's been since I've flown.
Well, yeah.
For like $500. So we plan it out, and we don't. And Allie doesn't know that I'm going to Paris.
Yeah.
So and I'm leading her on really good. Like she heads out. The next day, I catch my plane.
Yeah.
But I know that, like, and as I'm like flying to Paris, like I know, like, oh, now it's the morning in Utah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna text her like, hey, just woke up. I'm heading to the gym. But really, I'm landing in Paris at that time.
Awesome.
And so I'm playing with her pretty good.
Yeah.
The plan is.
What was that about honesty earlier?
I know, totally.
Sorry,
there's honesty, but then there's also stratagem, my friend.
Stratagem.
Like, stratagem.
Yeah.
You gotta. Sometimes trickery is important. So my wife had been to Paris a few times, so enough that she had a favorite restaurant in Paris. So they have dinner reservations there. So I'm gonna go meet them.
Yeah.
Just show up.
Yeah.
And propose, and that's exactly what I did.
That's awesome, man.
I have a suit. I have flowers. Her dad and brother-in-law escort me to the restaurant. We get there. My wife is just on her phone, probably texting me saying like, "Oh, what are you having for breakfast?"
Yeah.
Like, because again, I got her good.
I get you.
And I just go, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she looks up. She's just like, "What are you doing here?" And thankfully, like my brother-in-law like is recording this.
Yeah.
Yep. Get on my knees. Propose. She says yes. It's great.
Yeah.
Everyone in the restaurant is going crazy because they think it's pretty cute.
Yeah.
They come and bring us champagne. We don't drink champagne.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my sister-in-law and her husband do, so we were able to not leave it to waste.
You don't want to reject
you don't want to yeah. So they drank it, and then we went to the Eiffel Tower. And there was like 5 people who proposed while we were there.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did it before. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
not the traditional just Eiffel Tower proposal.
Hey, and also it's just because it has something meaningful because she's already been to Paris before, and it's her favorite restaurant there.
So like that
awesome,
story's gonna stay with us forever because then that trip, we then had another week in Paris.
Oh, that's
and
awesome, man.
Like we go to Normandy and see all the
Because I remember like I was at church and scrolling through, and then I was like, "Ah, son of a bitch."
Yep, just right there in the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, most of our pictures are from the Eiffel Tower right after we were engaged.
Yeah.
And to close out that story, they all come back. I don't at first because I forgot my green card here, so I have to stay in Paris for another 3 or 4 days. In this area, I didn't want to spend that much money on a hotel, so I stayed in this area where I guess there's a lot of like Arab, Middle Eastern folks there.
Was
and
it like a hostel or something? Or?
No, it was a hotel at least, but nothing crazy, nothing too nice.
Yeah.
But so I fit in great. People thought I was just from there, so I stayed in Paris, and those 3 or 4 days without my now wife.
Yeah,
and Paris by yourself is actually pretty.
I loved it. I went by myself one time, and I just walked all over the place.
I did that.
It just genuinely. It's amazing.
I enjoyed it for the first like 3-4 hours. Yeah. I walked to the Arc de Triomphe and like hung out, and then I was like, it's just an arc. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
So then I was pretty freaking bored.
The crazy thing is, did you go to the Louvre while you were there?
We did go to the Louvre.
Okay, so like seeing the Mona Lisa, the thing that I hated was seeing that like everyone was grabbing like selfies with the Mona Lisa in the background. Sure. It's the weirdest thing. It's the closest thing I can describe was a spiritual experience, just looking at
the Mona Lisa,
because it's literally ages old, and there's just some like it's not the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, but there's just something special.
I'll give you that
magnetic thing about it.
There is something about the painting, especially seeing it in person.
Yeah,
I should have done more stuff like that, like again when I was by myself, but I didn't. Yeah, I had to get work done, I guess. And
I found the best macaroon place. Just
that's cool.
Down Paris.
All right, so you seem to be a lot better at traveling by yourself than I went, because I was like. I enjoy being by myself, but again, it was just like go see the site by myself. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You wanted something to talk about. But bro, that's probably the moment that I lived my life to the fullest. It was like,
that is awesome.
Got to take the chance. Just got to go for it, man.
I love it, man. You swung for the fence, and guess what? You had home run.
Oh, yeah, we
knocked it out of the
park.
Yeah, we
did. Jeez.
But, dude, well, thank you so much for doing this, man. Dude, you're a great guy. Love you to death, man.
Same here, man.
Sebastian has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Where he reviews comedians as well as other things.
That's right.
What's it called again?
The channel is called Sebs Duran, so just my name.
I'll put a link down below.
Thanks. And all it is your usual narcissistic reaction channel, but my spin is I do it all for my treadmill.
Yeah.
And
the thing that I love is every time you always encourage people like, hey, it's just everyone should try and get a little bit healthier. Just go for a walk.
Do something.
Anything.
Find a way to keep doing the things you love while you're trying a little better to get healthier.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of support, and thank you. Check it out.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.